Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, so let us start. Today, probably Dr. Yugita will not be available because of power cut in her area. So I have to coordinate this session also. So I don't know how it will work. I'm not very sure. Let's try. Moreover, today's topic is quite different than LaTeX. It is not LaTeX, but related to research and publication. And here, all participants are researchers, and most of them are new researchers. So, it will be helpful knowledge of new knowledge for many participants. The topics that I will cover today might be already known to many participants, or many participants may not be interested on this. I don't know, but I suppose it will be useful for most of the participants, particularly students. So let us start slowly. Research and publication ethics. So in this presentation, I will cover mainly this research and publication ethics, misconduct, and actions taken on research publications, then how to complete PhD work in time, and skill for scientific communication for researchers. These will be the major topics. So let me start. And of course, a major part of this talk is from my another book based on this book, but many additional information will also be there. So if we see first of all, what is research? All of you are researchers. Now the big question is, what is research? So if we see this formal definition of research, one of the definitions, we can say research is the creation of new knowledge or discovery of the existing truth through systematic study, thinking, observation, or experimentation, often transcending social, political, and cultural boundaries. Research doesn't have such bindings, so it can transcend social, political, and cultural boundaries. Moreover, any new knowledge is not research, or new discovery is not research. This should be through systematic study, thinking, observation, and experimentation in a scientific way with scientific logic. Now, why people conduct research? Some people conduct research on personal quest for new knowledge or existing truth. Some conduct research for obtaining a research degree like PhD or promotion to a higher position in job. In corporate sectors, research is conducted for increasing profit and expanding business. Whatever may be the individual reason, but ultimate purpose of scientific research is the expansion of human knowledge and enhancement of new human ability and welfare to achieve the goals that are essential to humanity. Ultimately, this is related to humanity. So, next question comes, what is research ethics? Research is a self-regulating and self-policing process to a large extent, wherein researchers conduct research for various reasons already I mentioned. There is no one who will instruct that you do research on this topic. It is you only. Now, at this level, PhD students may think that supervisor is there, but say in general, it is self-regulating, that you will decide what you will do and you will plan how will you do it. But along with intellectual honesty, you must be honest when you will conduct research to disseminate their research findings with scientific integrity. You need to disseminate your research findings with scientific integrity, means others should be able to understand, replicate, and take forward. And also, you need to give full credit to other researchers based on whose ideas and works their research is carried out. When you will conduct some research, you will start based on other works, so that should be credited properly. Scientists have the responsibility and obligation to comply with some practical restrictions imposed to the freedom of scientific research for safeguarding human life, welfare, dignity, and liberty. Although research is self-regulating and self-policing, but you cannot do anything you like or you can do. There are some practical restrictions, and that restrictions mainly because of safeguarding human life, welfare, dignity, and liberty. So such practical restrictions and other guidelines that regulate the scientific research are known as research ethics, or also ethics of science in practice. Research ethics are some standards related to research process, relationships among researchers, interests and rights of human participants, confidentiality of data and research locations, and dissemination of research outcomes, among others. So you can see research ethics include so many things. What process is used for conducting research, how relationship is maintained among other researchers, interests, rights of human participants, confidentiality of data, you need to maintain location and all this dissemination of research also. So every researcher needs to conduct research in accordance with the relevant research ethics so as to avoid or at least to minimize harmful effects while conducting and disseminating scientific research. So you need to conduct research in accordance with research ethics in your particular domain or area so as to reduce or eliminate totally the harmful effects, if any. Now, why research ethics are crucial in science particularly? Here, I think a majority of participants are from science background, where pure science or science and technology or others relevant domain. So, why this is very crucial in science? Ethics in science are very crucial as scientific research and technical innovations may create new issues whose moral values are not yet evaluated. For example, the devastating effect of atomic bomb was not known to others prior to its development and detonation in 1945 by John Robert Oppenheimer. Recently, it was in news because of one movie. So, need of research ethics was realized for the first time in 1900 when Prussian directive on conducting research was published after many people suffered terribly and died from the trial of a vaccine for syphilis bacteria. So what happened this in that period, this area is in present Germany, that some bacteria, syphilis, appeared like pandemic as COVID virus we faced recently. So vaccine was developed and it was administered directly on human, and it was a failure. So many people terribly suffered and died. Then this directive was published on guidelining this conduct of research. So these days, information about ethical and unethical research is readily available in different sources. For example, internet, you just search what you want. Most of the things, 99.99% you can say, will be available in internet. Moreover, people are aware of the need to conduct research in an ethical manner, and the consequences of unethical research are also known. Despite all of this, research is still being conducted here and there in unethical manner on various needs. Hence, awareness about research ethics need to be created on regular basis. So if we see which could be this common research ethics, first of all, no harm to living being. In the name of research, you should not harm any living being, whether human being or any other animal. Awareness of participants. If you are involving any human participant in your research, means who will be collaborating with you, all they should know what is your research aim and what will be the expected outcome. No suppression to ethical committee, where approval from ethical committee will be required. There no information should be suppressed, no fact should be suppressed. Written consent for data and location, where from data will be collected or information will be collected, written consent should be taken so that in future neither you will face any trouble nor who provided this information. If anything goes wrong, one may turn down also, no, I didn't provide such information. So written consent, documented consent should be made there. Voluntary consent of human subjects. If any human subject is involved in any experiment, his or her voluntary consent should be taken that willingly he or she has participated in this research. Parental consents for minor subjects. If subject, that is human being, is minor, then parental consent means from parents or legal guardians should be taken. Ethical consent for animal subject. If there is animal subject used, from proper ethical committee, approval should be taken. Similarly, ethical consent for plant subject, whether it is wild or cultivated, for plant subject also, ethical permission, approval should be obtained. Confidentiality of research matter. What thing you are using, what will be expected, this thing, if any information human beings are involved, then those confidentiality should be maintained. I will come in detail also of this. Then no collection of additional data. In the name of research, you should not collect additional information. What is required, you should collect that much only, with explaining properly that this data or this information I am collecting for this purpose and this will be the expected outcome and this will not be used for any other purpose. Now, intellectual honesty and research integrity. If we say intellectual honesty, what does it mean? Intellectual honesty can be defined as the honesty in acquisition, analysis, and transmission of intellectual ideas, such as facts are not suppressed even if they contradict with others' ideas or interests. If you are finding something, someone has some ideology or interest that is affecting, then also your facts should not be suppressed. Facts are not twisted even if they are not impressive. If you feel that your result is not coming very good, then you should not twist it. Whatever you have found, you should report honestly. Facts are not twisted under pressure. What you have found, someone else should not pressurize to change this or twist these facts or findings. Facts are not twisted to gain false fame, to get that I have done such thing, I have so many this thing, I have found such good results. So to get such false fame, results should not be twisted. Contributions of others are duly acknowledged. So if someone has contributed, you should acknowledge them properly. Now, research integrity, it means that it suggests the conduct and dissemination of research with intellectual honesty, what already I mentioned, as well as with professional and ethical standards, so as to contribute trustworthy findings. What you will be disseminating, that should be trustworthy. It is important as research findings are expected to be useful in improving human life and social welfare. So, research should be conducted with research integrity. So, fundamental principles of research integrity, if we see that ethics, research should be conducted in an ethical manner. Relevance, on what topic you are conducting research, that should have relevance of the time or of the hour. Rigor, what you have studied, that should not be lightly overall or in this bag, but rigorous analysis should be there. Honesty, of course, already I mentioned, so should be done honestly. Reliability, your work should be reliable one. Respect, you should respect others, whether other collaborators or research sponsor or your affiliation. Impartiality, there should not be any partiality in conduct of research. Independence, research should be conducted independently without under pressure or influence. Accountability, what you will do, you should be accountable for that. If any negative impact comes, you cannot say I am not responsible for that, I did research only. No, you should be accountable for that. Then let's see publication ethics. What is research publication? It is the means for disseminating research findings to the scientific community. It is an integral part of a research work which recognizes such research findings. If you have conducted some research, of course, it is to be published. Why it is to be published? That publication of research findings is essential for many reasons. Unless published, research findings remain unusable and unacceptable. If you do something and if you go to people and say, I have done this research, I have found this, but people will not accept, not believe it unless you get recognition that is published from some peer reviewed. Science will progress only if researchers publish their research findings. People will utilize your research findings only if it is published, and then only science will progress. So publication of research findings lead to the development of future therapies, technologies, policies. So these are three major issues for which research is conducted: therapies, technologies, as well as policies. Now, ethics in publication. Publication ethics is the code of conduct to the publication of research outcomes. Like conduct of research, publication of research is also a self-regulating and self-policing mechanism on the part of all authors, editors, peer reviewers, and publishers to publish trustworthy research findings with scientific integrity. As a researcher, you are free to conduct your research. You will regulate your own research. You will make policy for own research. Then you will submit to somewhere, say journal. Then journal editors will be responsible. They will be accountable. Then peer reviewers who will review your article, and also the publisher ultimately, for example, Elsevier or Springer, they will also be responsible to publish trustworthy research findings. Now, if we see different ethical issues in publication, comes reporting in reproducible manner. What you have done, that should be produced in reproducible manner, so that other will be able to follow your work and will be able to apply in their work. Honest and complete reporting. You should report completely what you have found, whether positive result or negative result. It should not be only positive, better results you are presenting and suppressing this wrong one or poor one. No manipulation of facts and findings. Already I mentioned in case of this honesty. Novel and unpublished reporting. What we have done, that should be novel and unpublished. Nowhere it is published yet. Means new knowledge should be published. No referring to non-possessing documents, which document you have not seen yourself but read somewhere. Say you are reading in book or somewhere in document of Mr. X where something is told about Mr. Y. Based on Mr. X, you should not tell that Mr. Y told that unless you saw the document of Mr. Y. So you must see this document, then only you should proceed and claim these findings there or the facts reported there. No deprival of contributors from authorship. If someone has significant contribution, you should not deprive him or her from authorship. Again, no authorship without contribution. If someone has no contribution, then you should not include in authors list on, say, friendship or under pressure. Acknowledgement to other participants. There may be many other direct or indirect participants. They should be acknowledged. Acknowledgement to funding agency. That is also important. If you have taken funding from somewhere, you should acknowledge. No suppression of conflict of interest. If your research is aimed taking interest of some other party, for example, your authority or your senior or your funding agency, then if anything is there, you should disclose that thing that it is done. Say on this research, this is conducted. The only positive side, its benefits were evaluated, but its drawback were not evaluated. You should mention that. Plagiarism check before submission. Before submitting a document for publication, you should go through plagiarism check. No suggestion of close associates as reviewers. Say your friends or collaborators, you should not suggest as reviewers who may recommend your document, your research findings without going through this. Or even if there is any negative finding, they will ignore it because you are known to them, so they will just ignore. So there should not be any such suggestion. No submission to multiple publishers. Generally, say article, if it is submitted to a journal, then it may take several months. Even after that, there is no guarantee that your article will be accepted. So you should not do that, okay, let me submit to 2 or 3 journals, wherever it is accepted, there it will be published, and from other places it will be withdrawn. No, you should not submit to multiple places simultaneously. Then communication of errors to publisher. After publication of an article, if you find you did some blunder because of which you got wrong result, that is not any misconduct, but by mistake. Say one formulation you did somewhere, you had to put minus sign, but by mistake you did plus sign, and because of that what result you got, it is quite different. So that is one error. So such error you should report to the publisher immediately, so that publisher can publish errata that this should be read as this. Now, best practices and standard settings. So it is important to conduct quality research and publish research findings in reputed journals with honesty and integrity. Already I mentioned honesty and integrity also, so that science will progress. You should maintain integrity. This will enhance the research performance as well as the reputation of researchers and their organizations as well as countries. Accordingly, the compliance of all the relevant research and publication ethics, as stated earlier, would be the best practices in research and publication, what is so far mentioned. Still, let us see how this can be summarized. Such practices can be distributed in the 3 stages of the research cycle. We can divide this research cycle into 3 stages, which are these: planning of research, conduct of research, and publication of research. So, accordingly, best practices in planning of research, best practices in conduct of research, and best practices in publication of research. So best practices in publication of planning of research. For a conflict and criticism free, value added research, written plan of research should be prepared at the very beginning. what you will be doing, you should do in a way that there will not be any conflict, there will not be any criticism, and your research should be value added. So for that, you should prepare a written plan of research. How you will do that? Literature survey. Find out the present research scopes in the targeted topic by conducting an exhaustive literature survey. Your research should not be based on one or two documents only, but based on exhaustive literature survey, specialized literature. One thing always I say when I teach my students in my university, that copying from one document is copy. But if you copy from 100 documents, it is called research. So you should do exhaustive literature review. And that should be recent, not very old. Means to get the state of the art, you should go for recent literature. Then problem identification. Identify some research gaps to investigate as per your expertise and availability of resources, and then prepare a research proposal. So what literature review you will do, from there you will find some research gaps, and out of those research gaps, some you will identify to investigate based upon your expertise as well as availability of resources, which is beyond your edition background. You should not target that, you cannot do. Or some resources, if you need experimental setup or other things which are not available to you, then such topic you should not take. You should take what, analyze what you can do with your academic background, and availability of resources also you should check. Aim and objectives of the study. In the proposal, include the overall aim of the study and some research objectives. That you will have aim, that this is the aim of this work, present research, and it will be achieved through some research objectives. Methodology to be adopted. Include the systematic approaches to be adopted in conduct of the research. Confirmation of contributions. Recheck the novelty and appropriateness of the proposed research. What you have planned, recheck once and again and again, so that you can find, yes, you have sufficient, you will have sufficient novelty. Expert advice. In case of any confusion, discuss with some expert. For example, the supervisor in the case of a doctoral research. Contributionship agreement. Decide who will be the other people to participate in the research and make agreements with them regarding roles and responsibilities, authorship, ownership of intellectual property, and any other such matter. Without doing this, if you conduct research and at the end there should not be any conflict, who will be the author, who will be the proprietor, all this. So there should be clear agreement at the beginning that who will do which part. Awareness of participants. Make every participant aware of the purpose, complete methodology, and probable outcomes of the research. I mentioned earlier also, awareness of participants. Means they should know the purpose of the research, what methodology will be adopted, and probable outcome also. Availability and accessibility of resources. Explore the availability and accessibility of the required data and also the data processing facilities. You should not start your work with this expectation that, okay, this is required, this machine will be required, this machine will come and I will conduct this research. If for some reason, say your machine you cannot get, then unnecessarily your work may get delayed, or even you may need to stop also. So when you will conduct research, you first see whether all these things, what information will be required, that is readily available or not, or the data processing facilities, whether machine or software or any other means are available or not. Approval of ethical committees. Explore the possibility of obtaining ethical approvals or written consents on need. You need to check that also. Okay, in this experiment, say this type of animal will be used or plant will be used. Whether it will be possible for you to get ethical approval for that. then only you should consider such subject in your research. Roadmap. Prepare a duration-wise roadmap on the execution of the proposed research for its timely completion. This is very important. You should have a clear-cut written roadmap. Then best practices in conduct of research. Collect information and other data by explaining, where applicable, the purpose and expected outcomes of the research. If you need to collect information from outside, then you should do that in that way, explaining the purpose and expected outcome. Do not collect any extra information or data, particularly when those are confidential or sensitive. Already I mentioned that confidentiality to be maintained. Those ethical issues are the best practice, so things are getting repeated also. That do not collect any extra information or data, particularly when those are confidential or sensitive. Maintain the confidentiality of the collected information and data, and do not use or share them for any other purpose. If you have collected information for explaining that these data are collected for conducting this piece of research, you should remain within that work only. You should not use the same data in another work. Do not generate any false or presumed data. If essential, clearly mention them with proper reasons and justifications. Many times, real data may not be available. You may need to generate hypothetical data. If it is, then you should clearly explain that how you generated your data and why you generated such data. Obtain voluntary consents from human subjects, if applicable, prior to conducting experiments with them. If anything goes wrong, then you will be responsible for that. So, prior to conducting this research, if there is any human subject, take his or her voluntary consent. Obtain prior written approvals from the appropriate ethical committees, if required. That also required to take in a priori, not after conducting this research. Keep systematic record of each and every information and activity during the execution process of the research. You should maintain a record keeping book. Whatever you have done, you should record everything, say date wise, time wise, so that in future when it will be required, immediately you can come to this. Okay, if there is any challenge also, then you can come. No, this is this documented thing, this information was obtained from there, or this experiment was done on such and such places on this date, whatever any other information, everything should be recorded here. Then best practices in publication of research. Finally, research outcomes should be published in peer-reviewed reputed journals with full honesty and research integrity. Again, research should be published in peer-reviewed reputed journals, not any in substandard journals. Also with full honesty and research integrity. Report all the information and data honestly and completely which are used in the research work. Explain the data processing and other methods concisely but comprehensively. There should not be something like a novel or story. So you should present your this data processing concisely but comprehensively also. Report only original and not yet published research outcomes. Cite all the used documents adequately and consistently. So consistently means in a particular template you should use to cite your refer your documents. Do not claim the achievement of any convincing outcome by manipulating or tampering any data or result. Report honestly if there is any doubt about the accuracy of the equipment in which experiments are performed. If you find that your results are not very accurate, machine is very old, so accuracy or this error is coming within plus minus 5% or so, which is expected say to be within plus minus 2%, that you should mention honestly that this machine is used, this is old model, accuracy is this, say list count somewhere. If you have 1 mm, then you should mention that instead of mentioning that say you have got result in 0.5 mm, you should mention the accuracy is or list count is this. So whatever limitation you should disclose. Disclose the conflicts of interest of all the authors, if any. If there is any conflict of interest, you should mention. Show every research document to all the authors and take their consents for its publication. You show all authors that later on no one should come out with this, why you reported this part, why you send the article to this journal, like that. So show all the authors and take their consent for publication. Before submitting a manuscript for publication, check its similarity with already published documents. That means plagiarism check. Prepare every manuscript strictly as per the guidelines of the targeted journal. Do not acknowledge or offer authorship to anyone without having any intellectual contribution. Do not deprive any participant from authorship if he/she has significant amount of intellectual contribution. State the authorized contributions in the research document. It is mandatory in many journals even. Say particularly IEEE journal, if you go to submit one article, at the end, if there are multiple authors, at the end you should disclose the contribution of each and every author. Acknowledge other participants in the research document who have some contributions but not up to the level of authorship. For example, you collected results, all this, then plotting, you use someone, technician or some other students you engaged for plotting these figures, all this, or say doing statistical analysis to some extent, then you should put on acknowledgement. Acknowledge research sponsors in research documents. I think sometime I mentioned earlier also, if you have taken funding, you should acknowledge the sponsors also. This is very important. For example, you have taken funding from DST. DST has taken money from Higher Education Ministry. So DST will be answerable where this money is spent and how this is utilized. So when you will acknowledge this sponsor DST, for example, then DST will produce this information that this was sponsored, this was funded for this work in that institute, and this was the outcome. So this is very important to acknowledge research sponsors, if any. Do not suggest trained researchers and other research collaborators as reviewers of research documents. Already I mentioned this. Do not submit a manuscript simultaneously to multiple publishers for possible publication. This also I have explained. Immediately inform the publisher if any major mistake is noticed in the document after it is published. This also I mentioned in case of ethics. Avoid redundant publications. Redundant publications means without any new information. Avoid publishing research documents in predatory and other substandard journals. I'll come to these predatory journals and substandard already. You have understood what it means. Now, Committee on Publication Ethics, that is COPE. COPE is a global charity for editors of peer-reviewed journals for discussing issues related to the scientific integrity. Most peer-reviewed journals are now members of COPE. As the primary role, COPE focuses on investigating whether the member journals are acting according to the code of conduct and guidelines for the best practices defined by COPE. Membership of journals with COPE can be checked on this link. What I want to say here, you can judge the standard of your journal. Very primary requirement, you can see whether your journal is a member of the Committee on Publication Ethics or not. Publication ethics, the COP's membership means it has minimum standard for publishing an article there. If it is not member, you should avoid. You can note down this one. Or you can check also, say I am sending this link to you through WhatsApp. When you will go to submit your article to some journal, you may check this whether this journal is a member of COP or not. On this link, later on you can check for any journal you are following or you are targeting. When you will click this, okay, for example, this is coming here. See, this COP page has come, members, okay. This is okay, cookies I am accepting. Then you can search your targeted journal. Say I am typing the name of one journal, applied soft computing, from my domain. Now if I search whether it is a member journal or not, you see this information is coming, means it's a member journal, applied soft computing. Then who is editor in chief, from which country it is published, who is publisher, what is this ISSN number. Okay, then first one will be showing this matching one, and others may be coming some other things because it involves several words. So it is doing this checking keywords wide. So if I put this in quote, then let's see what will be coming. Now you see only one journal has come. So better if the journal name comprises several words, then you may put in quote so that specific journal will come out, whether it is a member or not. Once you are getting that it is listed there, then without any hesitation, you can submit your article to that journal. The standard further this impact factor, all this, that is different issue, but it has minimum standard for submitting an article. Now, COP aims to find practical solutions for dealing with research and publication ethics related issues. If new issue arises, then journals also, if they cannot sort out that such issues has come, then say to a particular journal and the journal is member of COP, then this journal may forward that information to COP that this type of case has come. So please frame guidelines or instruct how we should deal with it. COP also develops good practices in different contexts of research. In fact, what I was presenting so far, these ethics or best practices, all those are taken from this document only, from COPE only. Just I presented in a concise form. Now, misconduct in research and publication. There are three serious research frauds known as falsification, fabrication, and plagiarism, widely known as FFP in short. There are some other research misconducts which include selective reporting, misrepresentation of data, redundant publications, etc. Now, what is falsification? It is the issue of manipulating data, materials, equipment, processes, or reporting self-made research outcome. Why it may happen? Either you are lazy, you are reluctant to collect information, proper data, then you are doing this. Okay, say one example I have shown, say one experiment you are doing and you know this is this starting condition at 0 hour, and you know after 6 hours, say at the end of the process will be completed after 6 hours, and you know the final condition after 6 hours. So it is 15 I have shown. So intermediate stages will be between 0 to 15. So without going through this entire process, sitting in laboratory for the overnight to collect this hourly data, or probably say if this is what I am showing inside this tube, something is happening which you cannot observe. So what you are doing between 0 and 15, you are just generating some data randomly, telling these were the observed data. This is called falsification. Then fabrication. It is the issue of tampering the input data or the obtained results for presenting convincing results. For example, you say you conducted this research and when it is plotted, you see that this particular observation is coming something different, which is because of which this result is not very impressive. So what you are doing, this result you are manipulating to present a very impressive result. So this is called fabrication. And plagiarism, I suppose most of you or all of you know what is plagiarism. Research is conducted based upon the works of others, which must be identified and acknowledged properly. Plagiarism means the appropriation of someone else's research as own work, such as copying texts, concepts, data, processes, or images from other publications, including own publications, without adequately referring to the original sources. Here I am emphasizing own publications. Once your one article is published, it is no more yours document, it is a public document. So you should refer your own document even as general document. Plagiarism is taken very seriously by academic institutes, journal publishers, and also conference organizing committees everywhere. Good practice to avoid the charge of plagiarism is to properly refer to each and every piece of materials, both quoted and unquoted text, reproduced from other documents. If you are producing some statement from any other document, then you should refer it properly. In case of using tables and figures from other documents, if you directly copy table or figure, then apart from citing, you should take permission also from the publishers or authors holding the copyright. This is one thing. Many of you may not know this. What happens is you are copying one image and producing in your document. After that, you are citing that this is taken from or source is this, but that is not sufficient. You should take permission from the publisher that I am going to produce the same figure in my article. Selective reporting. Selective reporting means what? You are presenting only the good results, and if there is any poor results, you are just suppressing. Say one example says you have done 200 sets of experiment. Say here, this first one you have got superior result, so you report it. In second observation, your observation is inferior, so suppress it. So third one, impressive, superior report. Say some cases you have found same, then also you are reporting this. Now in this way, after this, suppressing this, say you are finding that 50 observations you could get better or superior results, and you are probably presenting that say I conducted 50 tests and I found my result are superior in most cases, and in some cases it is same already known results, and the superiority of your method is 90%. Whereas if you see after performing 200 observations and 50 comes superior, then only it is 25%. So this is called selective reporting. Misrepresentation of data. This happens particularly in case of say fitting this say car fitting. It is not well defined. Still, it can be considered as a misconduct. For example, here you have observed this data, these are, and finally you are giving a mathematical formulation by curve fitting. And when you will do this, your error should be within certain range, acceptable range. If it goes beyond that and you are presenting that this is my mathematical formulation, this is the governing equation, that is also a kind of misconduct. Redundant publication. Redundant publications of an author are those which hardly contribute any significant new scientific knowledge. It is a case of self-plagiarism, which may take place in different forms. For example, duplicate publication, overlapping publication, and salami slicing or salami publication. If we see duplicate publication, reporting the same material in two or more publications usually only with some cosmetic changes such as the document title, words, sentence formation, formats of tables, patterns of figures, and so on. It takes place widely at different levels. For example, publication of the same document in national and international levels or in journals of different languages. Overlapping publications, they do not present any meaningful new scientific information, but the same basic work in different combinations of subjects, data, or methods. Ultimate thing is same. Say one funny example here. It is something like saying that Newton, who observed the falling of an apple on the ground, observed later on that an orange also falls on the ground. So there is nothing new, okay, no new information, but people are doing in that way, which is called overlapping publication. Salami slicing, practice of obtaining two or more sliced publications from a research work, which would have actually give only a single meaningful publication. So some work you have done and you are supposed to report both advantages and disadvantages or limitations in the same document, but you are not doing. In one paper you are mentioning only advantages, this is this thing done and these are the advantages. After that you are publishing, going to publish another article showing the drawbacks of that article. Authorship and contributorship. While the authorship has academic and social implications, it also makes a researcher responsible to published work. So violation of authorship deprives genuine contributors while offers benefits to undeserving people. What could be this authorship misconduct? Ghost author. Ignoring a genuine person from authorship, which often happens in case of a paid service. Someone else is doing your work, say paid service, but it is published in your name. Gift author, offering someone authorship without having any intellectual contribution, say your seniors, your boss, to please him for your future benefit. Okay, you are giving, gifting an authorship. Guest author, offering authorship to an expert without having significant intellectual contribution. Someone, say what I mentioned, expert comment on this. Someone, you discussed with someone that I am going to do such work with this aim, then whether it will be a good piece of work or not. And if you take some suggestion and after that you are making him or her as a author, that is also wrong, which is called guest author. Another thing is authorship without consent. Inclusion of a domain expert as an author without his or her consent. Someone's name you are including, he is very pioneer in this field. You may feel that if his or her name is included, there is fair possibility to get the paper easily accepted. So that also should not be. Deprival of contributors from authorship. Depriving a genuine person from authorship. Says you engaged someone, say your juniors, in your work, but not including in authorship. Now, identification of publication misconduct and action. If any publication misconduct is identified, then what will be the action? Various actions may be taken at different ends upon establishment of any publication misconduct. Say actions at the end of journal. What could be the actions? Rejection of the submitted manuscript, retraction of an already published article, notification to the Library of Congress for correcting the electronic version of an already published article, rejection of any future submission to that journal, informing the organizations in which the authors are affiliated and also the research sponsors about the misconduct. The journal editor may take such actions. Authors at the end of other authorities. Institutes may debar students from submitting revised theses for a certain period or may even cancel their registrations or even withdraw the already awarded degrees. Organizations may take serious disciplinary actions against employees such as denial of one or two annual increments, even suspension or termination from the service. Sponsors may discontinue the release or stop the grant of research funding. In a worst case, criminal cases may also be filed with police or court against such researchers. UGC also initiated some actions. What UGC says, every student shall submit an undertaking along with a research document indicating that the research document in is her original work and it is free of any plagiarism. Not only students, supervisors shall also submit a certificate indicating that the work done by the researcher under his or her supervision is free from any plagiarism. Upon establishment of plagiarism, various penalties shall be imposed on students and faculty and staff members depending upon the severity of the plagiarism. Now, there could be some issues, appeals and complaints also. Most peer-reviewed journals have policies to consider appeals and redress complaints. Appeals, what could be? Appeal to consider the resubmission of a manuscript in an updated form which was rejected earlier by the editorial office. For example, not done in proper template or English is poor, something like that, then you can improve and appeal for reconsider. Appeal to consider the resubmission of a manuscript in an updated form which was rejected earlier by reviewers. If reviewers have rejected, pointing out some limitations, and if you can improve your articles by addressing such issues, you can appeal this journal for reconsideration. Appeal to consider late submission of revised manuscript. You could not revise in time, then you can appeal to reconsider with a late submission. Then appeal to reconsider any other decision of the editor that might appear. Now complaints, you may make complaint also, you are free to do that. In what cases? Complaint against excessive delay in the review process. Complaint about the bias of reviewers. Sometimes reviewers may also be biased. After all, they are also human beings. For example, I am a reviewer of your article. I am doing one research on a particular topic or my students are doing, and this is at the verge of completion. At the same time, you have already submitted a similar work. Now, if your work is accepted, then my work may not get published, which I am going to submit in next month. So somehow, some reason I am rejecting your work. That in such cases you may make complaint. Complaint by authors about offering authorship without consent. What I mentioned, without this consent, you may include someone's name. After publication, if someone finds that, he or she may make complaint that I was not part of that work, so my name is wrongly put there. Complaint by researchers about the violation of publication ethics. Readers about the publication of violation of publication ethics. If you did some violation and someone noticed that, some other person may also make complaint. Now let's see some case studies about this publication misconduct and action taken. These are some real cases I am going to present here. And I have full evidence of this, what I am going to present. See, Magad University withheld the award of PhD degrees to 52 out of 136 students after finding gross plagiarism in theses. It happened in 2019-2018 period like that. In a year, 136 theses were submitted, out of that 52 were withheld. Shutapa filed a criminal complaint against her supervisor after finding the supervisor copying her thesis in a book. Shutapa did PhD and her thesis was published by her supervisor as a book without her giving her authorship. And when it came to notice, she just this made complaint in Patna High Court against the supervisor as well as the publishers. Upon finding guilty of falsification in journal articles, Sri Venkateswara University debarred its professor Chiranjeevi from taking any administrative position and guiding senior research students. Kalasalingam University made its professor Sangli Yandi to resign from the university upon establishment of scientific misconducts in research publication. Plagiarism in research documents led Professor B.S. Rajput to resign from the post of Vice Chancellor of Kumaon University. This is another international case. This Gutenberg, Minister of Defense of Germany, had to resign from the ministry on charges of plagiarism and ghostwriter in his PhD thesis. This is one shared news. Barsha, assistant professor in Bir Narmad, South Gujarat University, committed suicide in fear of losing her MPhil degree upon establishment of plagiarism. Bell Labs dismissed its young physicist Scone after finding him guilty of scientific misconduct in the forms of duplicating, falsifying, and destroying data. So these are the cases, real cases happened on publication misconduct. Next, let us see open access publication. I suppose you know it, many of you, even if not all. What does it mean? Dissemination of scholarly knowledge to every needy person cannot be complete through traditional subscription-based journals only. Accordingly, the concept of open access publishing was initiated aiming to make research freely available to everyone having a computer and an internet connection, irrespective of financial, territorial, and societal barriers of individuals. Supporting the OA initiative, many open access journals have been launched worldwide in almost every domain. Moreover, now many subscription-based journals also provide the facility of open access publishing in the same journal. Like subscription-based journals, open access journals also need to comply with standard editorial and peer review processes. There is no difference between open access and subscription journals in terms of quality. Difference is in the article processing charge. Here in open access journals, this article processing charge is to be borne by the authors. What happens in this case? Actually, say Elsevier. Elsevier gets this price from the subscription. When it will be subscribed by some institute, they get after this publication. This process is in open access. Open access, Elsevier will get this cost of this article publication in advance from the author or any other agency, say institute of the author or from the government. That is the only difference. Major advantages of open access publishing are that the works get fast visibility and readers can get articles free of cost immediately after publication. But major drawback with open access publishing is the appearance of predatory publishing. Because of this threat, many bibliographic databases have also been launched for distinguishing open access publications such as DOS, Open Door, ROR, like that. Now, what is predatory publishers? Predatory publication is simply a fraud business in the area of research publication. It is a serious threat to the scientific community globally, not only in India. Predatory journals are not concerned with their promised quality checks, that is editorial and peer review process. Their main aim is to collect money or gain fame of launching or publishing journals. They assure the publication of articles within a few days only. Hence, weak and inexperienced researchers may get trapped easily toward predatory journals due to various reasons. Unable to fulfill the publication requirement for a PhD degree, lack of confidence on the quality of own work for submitting to scholarly, that is reputed journals, repeated rejection of a manuscript from different journals, wish to increase the number of publications, knowingly that number of publications will be increased of publishing in substandard journals. Lack of knowledge about the impact of predatory publications. He or she really doesn't know the impact of predatory journals. So what damage may cause if you publish in predatory journals? Predatory publications are never valued. Even good pieces of research are ignored by authors, so by others. It is a wastage of money which is likely to make the sponsor to stop future funding. Organizations of researchers may take some disciplinary actions if predatory publications are repeated. Predatory publishers affect the reputation of both researchers and their organizations. Predatory publications by researchers may also be assessed during the accreditation process of their organization. Some discussion is going on, say in NBA or this NAC accreditation. Such issues should be included. Now, how you will distinguish predatory journals and publishers? It is very difficult to easily identify predatory journals and publishers. So many non-profit making service providers have come up to help, say Bill's list of potential predatory journals or stop predatory journals list of predatory journals and predatory publishers. Predatory journals can also be identified from their web pages and invitation emails, which usually involve huge errors, both technical and linguistic. If you go through carefully through the journals, web pages particularly, or their email invitation, you will find the quality of those journals. So see some case studies. Say erroneous web page. This is one predatory journal. I'm not claiming it is predatory, but because of nature, I guess something like that. Say this quality and UGC care approved group 2 journal. Here again telling UGC care group A journal. The journal is not sure it is AIC, UGC approved group 2 or group A. Moreover, no journal will say it is approved by what. Moreover, you see here scientific journal impact factor 6.1. Here it is written. Again, something is written impact factor 2, 5 years impact factor. Moreover, here Scopus impact factor. Forgot to put this value, whatever. This is another you see GIS science journal. What will you understand that what type of journal, in what domain it is? Moreover, its impact factor 6.1. Go back to this previous one. Here also impact factor 6.1. They even don't know what is this 6.1 is. Now you say UGC's logo is here by tampering little bit, putting something there. No, the UGC does not publish any journal, so question does not arise. UGC's logo should be there. Moreover, journal space is so precious, so expensive. Even journal's name, when you do reference list, journal names are not written in full to save space. But here you see Scopus journal, UGC care journal, how many times it is written here, here, here. Moreover, email ID is given, password is also given for submitting your manuscript. There could be some emails when you will have some publications, you may get emails also from such publishers for publishing articles. Say here, this is one I received, this recorded on long back. I am keeping record every time, but here this is shown one old one. I received one email on February 1, 2001, asking, requesting for article for the issue of January 2001. Peer-reviewed journals. Acceptance within 24 hours. How it can be peer-reviewed where acceptance is within 24 hours. Now here see journal impact factor. Here also 6.1. All or most of these journals, they have 6.1 impact factor. They find because these people are not having good knowledge about this journal or publications. Somewhere they found some journal 6.1 impact factor, so they are using that. You see, this is another one. What they do, they publish in which area? Multidisciplinary, all for all science, arts and humanities and social science, management, engineering, computer science. Then who will be the readers of this if so many fields are covered? Moreover, acceptance status 1 to 2 hours, publication period 48 hours after registration, means after paying money. Scientific journal impact factor 6.1. All such cases I have included, their impact factor is 6.1. Probably very exhaustive one. I am going very fast because so many things I plan to cover here. Now let's see how many these 26 participants are there. So next point issue, let's see how to complete PhD in time. See this very first point, whether any scholar plan to complete PhD program in 5+ years. Unlike other academic programs, completely this PhD is completely different. It requires successfully answering unlike other academic programs completed previously, PhD work does not require to successfully answer bundles of unseen questions in a fixed and short time periods from a vast curriculum of a program by appearing in a series of closed book exams. This is general exam system what I mentioned for other courses. You have fixed syllabus, you complete this, appear in exam, qualify or pass this course, you will get the degree. Instead, PhD, it requires to perform a set of pre-planned, known and fixed tasks by openly utilizing required every resource without any restriction. Everything already I mentioned, everything is planned, every knowledge or resource is available to conduct this research. Still, why such big time period is required for many scholars to complete their research or this PhD work? It is certainly due to improper work plan and or time management. So pursuing PhD program is quite different from all other academic programs previously completed successfully. PhD program seeks to contribute some new scientific knowledge in a particular domain through in-depth study. This makes the PhD program challenging to students, often causing many students to quit it incomplete. This is world record. Around 50% students leave the PhD program incomplete due to many reasons, such as academic shortcomings for the chosen research problem, inability to properly organize the research work and manage time, lack of confidence on own capability, getting a better career opportunity, a conflict with the supervisor, and many more. So a doctorate degree brings a lot of changes to the career of a person, such as it makes it knowledgeable, creates a research-oriented mind, increases the status in the society. So first you need to decide, you need to say why you want to earn a PhD degree. There should be a clear and confirmed answer to it. Enrolled in the PhD program, this I am not going to tell because already you have enrolled. Now selection of this institute, I can skip. Selection of PhD supervisor, I can skip. Already you have this stage. Now relationship between PhD students and supervisor. Good, trustful and friendly relationship between student and supervisor is essential for successful completion of PhD work. Particularly the student should be careful with the following. Be polite and faithful to supervisor, as a conflict would hardly affect supervisor but successful completion of your program. Better to remain friendly with supervisor so as to discuss every problem freely, including both academic and personal. Do not give too much excuses for your delay in timely completion of scheduled work. Take supervisor in confidence in every decision, which will create good impression and also make supervisor accountable. After if you do that, later on supervisor cannot tell you why you did this without asking me, because you will take consent from him, so he or she will also be equally accountable. Meet the supervisor regularly without fail and present what new you did after the previous meeting, even if there was any unsuccessful attempt. You may take help from other faculty members in need, but with due consent from supervisor. If you want to need to take help from other faculty members from the department of or institute, you should go through your supervisor, not directly. Now, selection of PhD research topic. It is better to pursue research on a topic of interest on your own, which will motivate you more to work. Initially, you may feel that you know everything and well capable to carry out research independently. But as time will pass, you may find many things are not known to you. So, PhD topics should align with the research areas of your supervisor so as to get his or her direct help and involvement in need. So PhD is the starting of research and it is a guided research. Hence, it is better to take a PhD research topic as suggested by the supervisor and select one from his or her research domain and take his or her due approval for same. After the PhD program is over, you will have your entire life to do research on topics of your interest. Pre-registration coursework I can skip here. Now, plan of research. It is the itinerary of your research without which you may not be able to proceed in a right direction. So make a narrow research topic, that is, do not plan a lot. You cannot spend 10 years in completing your PhD degree. It will be treated as your failure if you cannot complete the planned works in time. You see what happens in many cases. Thesis proposal, you can say you will propose a long work, big work that you will make such a twin tower. And after certain year, you could say that you could not do and your submission will be something like that. This is a funny picture I have taken from internet. Now, another reason of planning a narrow topic is that what you plan today, tomorrow may become obsolete also. That is after 4 or 5 years. Moreover, another issue I have not included, you may get stipend only for 3 or 4 years. Then why you should continue your PhD work beyond that? It should be within your stipend period only. It is quite possible that already better results may get published before you finish your work. So plan only that much of work which you would be able to finish in a time period of 3 years, including sufficient buffer time to overcome unseen problems. Do not worry with a narrow research topic as suggested here. I have given one example. A doctoral thesis of only 2 years could lead John Nash Jr. to a Nobel Prize. That is game theory. Now, roadmap of research. If you really want to earn a PhD degree, you must prioritize it over any other activity. Accordingly, prepare a semester-wise roadmap so that you can remain on track and move forward smoothly. Based on the deviation of the actual progress from the roadmap, you may manage your time for all other activities such as sleeping, gossiping, recreation, co-curricular activities, social relationships, joining relatives, friends, etc. So roadmap, you should distribute your work semester wise. You should not think that work pressure will increase later on, but you should distribute uniformly. Say initially say 10% during coursework, all this, then 20%, 20%. In this way, you should plan for 3 or 3.5 years. After that, you conduct your research. Once plan of research has been approved by the committee, immediately take off to conduct this research. Also, do not forget to follow the good practices in conduct of research, what already I mentioned. Now, attending conferences, you should attend some conferences. It is essential for every PhD student to attend at least 2 or 3 reputed conferences in his or her domain. Many prominent researchers also attend conferences and deliver their research. It is a good opportunity for PhD students to know such prominent researchers, interact with them, and also get familiarized with their research in your domain. Moreover, it is also an opportunity to get critical feedback on your research from a bigger and proper audience. Now, research publication. Some peer-reviewed journal publications are required from the PhD work to ensure some external peer review of the work. Obtaining a publication in a reputed journal is a time-taking process. So plan accordingly when to start the writing of articles for journals so that your plan of completing the PhD program is not delayed. It is advisable to check the decision-taking time of a journal before submitting any manuscript to it. Most of the standard journal have their time period. That first round of review will be completed in this period, then final decision will be taken in this period. So you should check that. Now the major question, I am not going to individual work, but thing is, start thesis writing from day one. This is one way to complete your PhD in time. It is a big and very important question when to start the writing of PhD thesis. Many students keep thesis writing for the last minute, resulting to spend a semester or so for thesis writing only. There are many reasons for requiring such a long time, which could be you might forget at the end what exactly you did and found 2 or 3 years back and in what sequence. Mathematical formulation of the model, presenting data in tables or plotting results for visualization, if any, are very complicated and time-consuming jobs. Organization, drafting, formatting, and language editing of everything at the end are highly error-prone and tedious jobs. Preparation of bibliographic list and cross-referencing are also complicated and tedious jobs, but their correctness is very important to avoid any charge of plagiarism. So in order to prepare an accurate thesis smoothly in time without requiring any additional time and mental pressure at the end, start the writing of the thesis from the very first day. How you can do? You are now matured enough, okay, and might have constraint with various family or societal responsibilities. So you need to prioritize PhD work to finish as early as possible by cutting down or stopping completely all other non-valued and harmful activities. There should not be any feeling that the work pressure will increase in later semesters, but it should be distributed uniformly over all the semesters for smooth completion of the program. Say roadmap what I showed. So if you have realized the need of starting the thesis writing from the first day, you may do the following. Collect the institute approved or a standard template for thesis preparation and fill up it on regular basis on as you will proceed. For example, the thesis template I gave, if you follow LaTeX, you can use that template. While surveying literature, typeset the summary of every relevant article in such a way that you will rarely need to go through the detail in the original article again in future. Also, prepare the bibliographic list of articles and cite them properly. If you do it LaTeX, there is no problem of changing numbering at the end again. Immediately after finalizing the plan of research, typesets its portion in the relevant chapter and section of the thesis. During the course of research, you will pass through different phases such as mathematical formulation, data collection, data interpretation, experimental setup, result collection, result presentation, result analysis and discussion, and so on. Immediately after completion, include each phase in the thesis. On completion of the research work, you may need finally to finalize this thesis as follows. Change the thesis template as per the institutional requirement. Check whether any material is to be deleted or added. Check and reorganize the material if required. Check whether all chapters and sections are numbered correctly. Check whether chapters and sections are referred correctly. Check whether cited all references are listed in the bibliographic list. Check whether every document listed in the bibliographic list is cited at least in one paragraph. Check whether the equations, tables, and figures are numbered correctly. Check whether each of equation, table, figure is referred at least in one paragraph. Now, most of this will be done automatically if you prepare your thesis in LaTeX. You need not to do all this checking what I told. Only maybe some initial portion, say this one, whether any material is to be deleted or added or reorganization of this. Most of the other things will be done automatically. So on completion of other parts, finally you need to write, which you cannot do earlier. At the end, you need to do write synopsis, introduction, conclusion, future research scope, etc. Perform plagiarism check to bring the similarity within 20%, most preferably within 10%. Finally, upon getting clearance from the doctoral committee, submit the thesis. That's all. If you do in this way, you can save lot of time. So this is another part completed. Let me see how many participants. They are now waiting 25. Please comment if you are getting interested, finding any useful or new knowledge. You can make yourself unmute or comment it. Before I am going to next part, please give one or two feedback. Okay, so this meeting is set up to 11 o'clock. It will get automatically disconnected because internet based. So let me in quick discuss about this, about the scientific communication with journals, how you should do it. Communication skills for researchers. Conduct of research and its presentation are two quite different things. Presentation is a skill to be learned and improved through experiences. A good piece of research also may not be recognized if it is not presented properly. You have done very good work, but you could not present it properly, so your work may not be recognized. A small piece of work may also be well accepted if it can be presented convincingly. It depends upon that how you are presenting. Know your targeted journal readers before you start writing. So for which journals or for which journal readers you are writing, you should write your article accordingly. Check whether your work closely falls within the aim and scope of the journal or not. Every standard journal has aim and scope written on the very first part of the web page, you can see. So you should check whether it falls closely to this aim and scope or not. What to be written and what not to be written in a manuscript. This question was asked by one participant during this workshop, and I told that I will address this later on. Write only relevant background information as the basis of your work and present your acquired new knowledge. Do not write well-known or textbook materials excessively. Instead, refer to some good literature for the same. Present all materials sequentially and in short without repeating. Sequentially means many times it is seen one statement has no link with the previous statement. It should not be. It should come sequentially. Present own work in reproducible manner yet comprehensively. Strictly follow the journal guidelines for preparing manuscripts. Now, that is another art, how to present the work of 2 years in 20 minutes. What to say and how to say. So how you will present this title of an article? How you will write this title? Title of an article is the first impression about the presented research work, and hence it becomes very crucial. Title should not be very general, broad, or vague, but informative, presenting a concise view of the research work with just a few important keywords, specifically the studied problem, used approach or methodology, and obtained outcome. Since a research work is generally carried out with the concept of think globally, work locally, the title should also reflect a global perspective even if the research work is carried out for a narrow region. topic title should be global. Say something you have done some work, say something many times I see this work for written in the region of Assam or in the region of Northeast, something like that I often get in my area. So that should not be. Topic should be global, work will be done locally. Title should be comprehensive even to people who are not experts in the field of the research work. It should not be made very long with unnecessary words, but a concise yet comprehensive one. Abbreviations, acronyms, and punctuations should not be used in the title as much possible. Now, abstract of an article, how you will write article abstract. Abstract is an overview of the research work presented in the article. It is also the part of the article that people would read first, and hence it should be plausible for reading the article further. Abstract should be limited within the permissible size by covering the following. Abstract should be complete on its own without referring to any external source. There should not be any reference in article. Any general statement or unnecessary information should not be put in the abstract. Abstract should be direct and concise answers to the set of questions, two sets. First set is what, why, what. Another set what, how, what, why. You see all are WW, 3W, and here WH, WW. It is widely told like that. So first what it means, what, why, what. The first what is the main problem, why it is important, and what are the state of the art and gap in knowledge. This is the prior knowledge on this work on which you will continue your perform your work. Next part is on your work, means what, how, what, why. Here, what are the motivation and the exact problem studied in the research work? How the problem is studied, that is the used approach methodology. What are the key results or findings, outcomes, and why such results are important. Significant numerical results may also be presented in relative or comparative form, if applicable, in support of their importance. In the abstract, such things should be mentioned. Introductory section of an article. Introductory section should be basically an extended abstract, including some additional materials as follows. It is simply extended abstract with additional. What can be done? State of art may include some literature review. In abstract it is not allowed, but in introductory chapter section you can include. Gaps in knowledge should be followed by the motivation aim of the present work and how the achievement of such aim would fulfill such gaps in knowledge. Your work, how it will fulfill some gaps in the research, that should be clearly stated. Organization of the article, that is outline of the remaining sections, should also be presented. Literature review. How you will do literature review? It is a survey of recent specialized literature on the topic of the research work presented in the article in order to show some gaps in knowledge in the state of art, which is or are attempted to fill up through the carried out research work. Literature review should be started on the topic on a broad sense and then to converge gradually in the direction of the carried out research work. Existing literature should not be simply summarized, often it happens, but a coherent structure should be developed through critical analysis, leading to a clear basis for the carried out research work. Simply he did that thing, they did that thing should not be. After that, it is to be analyzed, leading to some gaps or drawbacks based on which you will confirm your work. So that will come through the analysis of the literature. From the literature review, some gaps in knowledge in the state of art should be explored. Finally, it should be stated which and what Why out of the explored gaps in knowledge are attempted to fill up in the carried out research work. Finally, you need to tell. I'm repeating which and why out of the explored gaps in knowledge are attempted to fill up in the carried out research work. Then problem description and formulation. Based on the gaps in knowledge as explored from literature review, the identified broad problem should be transformed first into a well-defined targeted problem. This is the research problem to be resolved in the present research work through focused research with careful decision making. I have written very consciously, you see, focused research with careful decision making. While defining the research problem, the following may be noted. A narrow research question becomes more interesting and acceptable as it allows to study a problem at a greater depth. Whereas only a superficial study is possible with a very broad research question. Then the present research question should be formulated mathematically or in any other applicable forms such as questionnaires or hypotheses by clearly stating the necessary assumptions, if any. Most of the academic research will involve lot of assumptions, so such assumptions should be stated clearly. Then a process and methodology. How the present research is conducted should be presented here systematically. Specifically, the applied approaches, methodologies, such as procedures and tools for collecting and analyzing data, should be explained in detail. It is also to be justified properly why those approaches are adopted out of various applicable alternatives, if any, with an attempt to convince readers that those are the best approaches, methodologies to answer the questions of the present research. Simply, you are telling this process is applied, this method is applied, it is not sufficient. You should be able to convince these readers that this is the best approach. Then results and discussion. Results should be results should show the facts of the research work, outlining what is or are found in relation to the present research question. Even if many results are collected at the time of conducting the research work, only those relevant to the present research questions should be presented. During conducting research, you may not get idea, you may do different analysis, you may collect different sort of results. But you should not present all this, but only those which are directly related to your research questions. For effective visualization, results should preferably be presented in the forms of tables, graphs, and charts, if applicable. However, the same result should not be presented in different forms without conveying any new information. Say one data set presented in tabular form, then again plotted a graph, then plotted a bar chart, it should not be. There is no new information. So if you presented one set of result in table, and if you want to plot something, that should be for another set of results. Results should be interpreted properly in relation to the research questions. It should also be stated which results were expected or unexpected, along with analyzing limitations that might have led to the unexpected results. If you find some unexpected results, that also you should mention, and also the reasons why you arrived at such unexpected results. Obtaining results should be compared with those already available in literature, wherever applicable, along with discussion on their validity, acceptability, as well as their significance and how they fit with the existing knowledge. You should be able to analyze that this finding fits with the in the existing knowledge in this or that way. Now, conclusions and future scope. Presentation of the carried out research work is to be concluded here with recommendations based on the findings and observations as follows. First of all, what was the research work and how the research questions were answered should be summarized. Then it should be highlighted how the significant findings contribute to the knowledge in the studied research field. Contributed novelty should be highlighted. See, contribution and novelty are two different things. Novelty means new thing, and contribution means what you have done. Say, sometime I give example. Say, some party is organized, and you did lot of works. Means you had lot of contribution in this party, but probably you have nothing novelty. Whatever you did, say inviting guests, then serving some refreshment, all these are routine work, so there is nothing novelty. So contribution and novelty are two different things. Finally, based on knowledge gained and limitations observed, some recommendations should be made for practical actions or as future research scopes. Once it is done, your article is prepared. Now, time to submit a manuscript to journals. What you will do, once completed, format the manuscript strictly as per the journal guidelines. It will reflect your seriousness in work and interest to the journal. Perform similarity check using an online tool to bring it within 10%. Although the journal will not ask you for the same, but its editorial office will do it on their own. Still, it will create a good impression if their report comes within 10%. If you submit something, pluralism check is done and 30% is found, then it will create a bad impression. So better you check yourself also. Finally, submit the manuscript to the journal by answering all academic, administrative, as well as ethical questions step by step, such as category of the manuscript, funding source, conflict of interest, ethical approval, consent to participate, consent of publication, availability of data and materials, code availability, authorized contributions. These are the things what I mentioned in case of preparing an article in LaTeX. Same thing. So response to review comments. If there is any review comment to respond, prepare a response to review comments. The report may be started with overall declarations as follows. When you prepare response to reviews, you should have some polite declaration also. For example, at the very beginning, we would like to express our sincere thanks to the anonymous reviewers for their valuable comments and suggestions, which have led us to let us helped us a lot in improving the manuscript from its original version. The modifications made as per the suggestions of the reviewers are marked by green color in the revised manuscript so that those can be easily found, which are newly made. Moreover, some corrections, improvements are made from our end also, which in the revised manuscripts are marked by blue color. If you made some changes on your own, that also you should highlight. Further, our point-wise responses to the comments and suggestions of the reviewers are also provided below. In the response sheet also, you should state if it is long, then short way, you should mention what is done in the or how the manuscript is revised. That should be included here. Then state comment by comment how those are addressed in the revised manuscript. Also, politely justify if any comment could not be addressed or not agreed with to address. For example, some reviewer might have suggested to cite some documents. Often it may happen his or her own documents, but those are not relevant to your work. Then you should politely say, we have gone through this suggested references, but we could not found relevant to our work, so this could not be referred in our work. So what I have presented, the reference list is long one. So still some of these I have pointed out here. So thanks a lot for your patience in listening the boring presentation. Because of time constraint, I had to be very fast on this. So please, if you have anything to ask, anything to comment, you can unmute yourself and you can speak. Krishna has mentioned, sir, can you please share today's presentation? We can refer it. Thank you. See, most of the things what I have presented today, this is from my this other book I mentioned, and this is Indian book only, and this book is followed in many universities as this mandatory coursework prescribed by UGC. In my university, I am teaching this course for since 2021. Still, I will try what you have mentioned. I will try to give some materials or by some other way. Okay, this presentation or this, I will check how I can help you. Any other comment? There is time limit, so if it is anything to say, please unmute yourself and speak directly. Okay, Prangshu is telling, of course, I included that considering that it will be helpful to you, may not be to all. Sir, if you have covered many things in one session, very informative. Yes, because of this what I have covered, this is what I cover here as a course in a semester that I covered in 2 hours only. In fact, not in complete 2 hours. I started little bit late, waiting for participant, again finishing in around 10 minutes before within the period of 2 hours. Krishna is clapping. So if there is no other thing to ask or comment, so we can stop here. I can understand it was very exhaustive probably, particularly if you sit only to listen, then it becomes very difficult. If you get involved yourself, then okay, many times it happens that how time pass you cannot realize. But sitting only listening is sometimes becomes boring also. So okay, if there is no other question, let me stop here for today. And I don't know. I think Professor, this Dr. Yukta is not. Yogita is not today. No, Yogita is still there. Dr. Yogita. Okay, participants. Good night. You can quit.